It is Monday, September 26th. We just saw another frustrating loss from the 49ers. We are going to put that in perspective, plus more, with my baby brother, Rohan Chakravarthi. Keep it locked. What is up, fam? Thank you so much for tuning in to this special Monday episode of So Real Sports Talk TV. I am your host, So Real Sunil, and you know I had to start the week off strong. Get baby bro in here, Mr. Rohan Chakravarthi. Rohan, I don't even want to know how you're doing right now because we just came off the heels of another frustrating loss.
Yeah.
So I know I got you for a good time, not a long time. Let's get right into it. I know you've been watching film, my man. What are your initial thoughts on the game?
Jimmy Garoppolo cost the 49ers this game. If we're being honest, if you watch the film, I don't know how you can come with another takeaway than that. You watch offensively, you watch defensively. Defensively, this 49ers team continues to be elite. This was their first test defensively, right? Where people were questioning, oh, you're playing only the Chicago Bears and the Seattle Seahawks, when really the people that continuously watched and really analyzed the game understood that the 49ers, their defense, this type of success was able to be replicated. That was the case. You hold this Denver Bronco offense to essentially 9 points yesterday, and that was a really, really good job by the defense. That was a game that the 49ers should have won, and a game that in which D'Amico Ryans was robbed of because he called a spectacular game. Offensively, I honestly thought Kyle Shanahan called a good game. We'll get to Kyle Shanahan in a bit. Execution. It was poor, and it starts right with the man in the middle. Jimmy Garoppolo consistently missed passes. When you look at the entirety of the game, he missed easy throws, screen passes in which the offense is just trying to move the ball at least 5 yards down the field. He missed two of those, one to Juwan Jennings, one to Deebo Samuel, consistently missed reads. And the most frustrating part isn't even the interception in which he threw it into double coverage as normal. Instead, the most frustrating part is when you look at a player, see that he's open, and don't throw the football to him. Earlier this week, we all thought, wow, Jimmy Garoppolo's kind of throwing some shots at Kyle Shanahan. Maybe the 49ers are going to be able to gunsling. Maybe the 49ers are going to have somewhat of a different opportunity. I rebuked that. I said, we've seen Jimmy Garoppolo with the deep shot implemented into the offense, him consistently not be able to take that shot, be it because he either misses the throw or be it because he chooses not to take the throw because he misses the read or just goes past the read because he doesn't trust himself to make that throw. That was the case in this game. And so to me, it's just hilarious how people believe that Jimmy Garoppolo in a way can try. It's not that he can't raise this team. I think he can have good performances, but this is the norm of what Jimmy Garoppolo is, an up and down performance in which it was made, like, the performance was made easy for him, in my opinion. Kyle Shanahan dialed up a game that played exactly to his strengths, and he didn't perform.
Yeah, and this is kind of like the struggle when it comes to having Jimmy G on the team. You know, I have a really good friend, Rohan, that's a Philadelphia Eagles fan, diehard, and he swears by Jimmy G. He's like, man, your team is better when Jimmy Garoppolo's there, and he lists the record. He lists the, where the team has gone. Because from the outside looking in, you look at the 49ers over the last 3 years, and especially if you're a fan that follows the NFC, you see the 49ers were in the Super Bowl 3 years ago. Last year, NFC Championship game. And you look at, any other team in the NFC, you're looking at that and like, yo, that's the type of success I would like my team to have. And Jimmy Garoppolo is the quarterback. So you put the 2 and 2 together that, hey, Jimmy Garoppolo is really good for your team. But us as 49er fans that watch it day after day, we know that it's not that Jimmy G is the worst quarterback ever, but the window of opportunity you have for Jimmy, the margin of error that you have with Jimmy Garoppolo is so small that even though the defense plays a near perfect game, like literally only 9 points allowed against supposedly a high octane offense that got back its weapons and things like that, it still is not enough because you can make, they had 3 turnovers, 1 for 10 on third down. It's just like the margin of error is so small that even a few mistakes here and there just, you end up losing the game. So it's extremely frustrating for sure. And we're gonna try to break it down piece by piece, Rohan. But I do want to get some of the chat section in. We got our boy Fernando. Hey, Sunil. What's up, Fernando? Thank you for tuning in. Eric Dane, drop a like or Jimmy G will commit another safety. Yikes.
Oh, no.
49er Minded, let's get those likes up. I appreciate that. I'm actually going on with 49er Minded on his channel tomorrow, 5 p.m. Pacific. So definitely go and tune into that. 916 49er, Jimmy Smiling, SMH. What did you think about that, Rohan? It's obviously bad optics seeing Jimmy Garoppolo smile after the game, but for me, Jimmy's been the quarterback here for 5.5 years now. This is just him. Like, his body language is never what we really want it to be, I guess, as fans that are competitive. But I don't necessarily think of it like, it's just bad optics. But I don't know if that necessarily plays into Jimmy Garoppolo in any way, shape, or form. What about you? Did you think anything of it?
No, not really. I didn't really care. It's the end of the game. Jimmy Garoppolo went, and there was one specific person that he was talking to. It was Cam Fleming. Him and Jimmy Garoppolo came together. They were in the same draft class with the New England Patriots back, I believe, in 2014 when Garoppolo was drafted. So I didn't take anything away. That's Garoppolo's friend, I'd assume. So to me, don't really care. It's at the end of the game, and you see exchanges at the end of the game out of signs of respect or just friends catching up. Yeah, it's a loss, but that's the one. Like, if you're gonna criticize Garoppolo, that's the one thing that I don't think you criticize him on. You criticize him on his gameplay. I don't really care about that part.
Right. We got some more. Sean Keleohi, aloha faithful from Hawaii. Thank you for joining in, my man. Tay Village idiot. He stepped outside the back of the end zone like a rug. Definitely the most frustrating play of the game. Mike Mosley, initial thoughts on the game or the defense are maybe number 1 in the league. The offense is absolutely last in the league. Whose fault is that? 40% interception and interceptable. Oh, I like that. And 60% on Kyle. Varuna, the offense will be good once Jimmy's friends, Kittle, Juice, start to worry about PFF grades and not BFF grades. Varuna had some nice one-liners after the game. Definitely go check his Twitter out. He had some funny stuff. So, let's talk about it. And actually, before we jump into, because this is a big deal, right? I don't know if you have any more info. Obviously, left tackle Trent Williams went down. It looks like a high ankle sprain from stuff that I've been reading. Or stuff that Shanahan actually said. Jalen Moore is terrible, man. He looked terrible in the preseason.
He can't play tackle. Stop playing him at tackle. We said this in the preseason. He can't play tackle, bro. Stop playing him at tackle. I watched the game. Jalen Moore cost the 49ers a drive in this game. Stop playing him at tackle. He's a right guard or a left guard. Do not play him at tackle.
Right. I agree with you. So he's trash. And it was funny because Rohan, I was actually at this LA event where they were showing the 49ers games. It's all 49er fans. And when Trent Williams went down, and then they showed on the screen Jalen Moore when they went back on the field. And I was with a friend, and I was like, oh boy. And she was like, what? And I was like, he's terrible, and he's about to play left tackle. And then the next play, bro, I forget who the lineman was, went in and sacked him. And they listed Brandon Gregory. I was just like, It's terrible. But if he's out, and it looks like he's going to be out, what usually high ankle sprain, 4 to 6 weeks. I guess our best hope is McKivitz, right?
Yeah, Colton McKivitz is the only answer right now, I think, at at left tackle on the team. The funny thing, in training camp, the 49ers moved Colton McKivitz from left tackle to right tackle and Jalen Moore from right to left because they believed, I think, Colton McKivitz is better on the right side. I thought he was a little better on the right side. But the funny thing is, Jalen Moore was not better on either side. He can't play tackle. It's unfortunate. Right. It's just his archetype is better at guard. We've seen he played with the first team offense at guard in preseason. In OTAs, and the reports were fine. If you're going to play him in a guard position where he's probably going to be more comfortable. I understand the transition is hard, but he was projected, at least by me and by Marco, as a guard coming out of college. He himself, it seems like, is more comfortable at guard. So play him there. McKivitz is the only left tackle that you can really even suggest playing on the team behind Trent Williams right now.
I agree. Tough loss, right? Because he's obviously the anchor of our offensive line, the best player that we could possibly have on the team. To lose him is definitely going to be rough. Paul Perryman, thank you for joining. Shanny has never had back-to-back winning seasons since he became a coordinator 14 years ago. Wonder if that will continue this year. 3 games, multiple catastrophic injuries, not looking good. And that is a great segue into what I wanted to discuss. And I want to list off some stats for you, my man.
Yeah.
So I was doing some research, and obviously one of the things that Kyle Shanahan is known throughout the league for is an offensive genius, right? And I don't want to necessarily argue that, because clearly we understand he has skills in devising plays. You mentioned he called a pretty good game, and for the most part, he does call decent games, and it could be lack of execution. But at the end of the day, buck stops with him. You look at an offense, and you look at an offensive-minded coach, you would expect great numbers from an offense. And then I did the research to find out what those numbers actually were. In 2017, the 49ers offense finished 17th, ranked 17th in the league. 2018, they finished ranked 20th in the league. 2019, they ranked 4th. Obviously, that was the year they made it to the Super Bowl. The defense was ranked 5th, so that was a pretty nasty team. 2020 finished 22nd. And last year finished ranked 13th. So when I averaged the last 5 years out, Rohan, it was like 15 and some change. So let's just round it in his benefit, 15. Now, if you're looking at the biggest issues with the 49ers, it's always been the offense. The defense has been, for the most part, you've never looked at it and been like, the defense is the reason why this team hasn't gone as far as they could have or lost. It's always been the offense. What's going on with Kyle Shanahan offenses, man? This is another year where, once again, we have an elite defense, and we're 1-2 right now instead of 3-0, which I think we easily could be at this point.
It's the quarterback. I don't think there's another answer. It's really the quarterback. It's execution. Well, I don't think it's always the quarterback. I think it's execution. We've seen drop issues before. We've seen quarterback play before. Yesterday, if we're looking specifically at yesterday, it was the quarterback. There were several well-designed plays. Kyle Shanahan, yesterday, was actually fairly amazed at the way that he designed plays. There was a certain play that I saw. It was the Juwan Jennings deep ball in which Juwan Jennings has to catch that. That's on him. But Kyle Shanahan devises, it's a 2x3, I believe, is what I saw. It was Jennings and Samuel against 2 cornerbacks in the deep safety. So what does Shanahan do? He wants one-on-one situations. That's the most favorable matchup. He runs a fake Deebo Samuel screen, which draws the cornerback and drops the safety a little bit, leaving a one-on-one with Juwan Jennings, who runs a fade route to the outside, and he's just got to corral that ball in. That's a good ball by Garoppolo. Yes, it's a little bit lofted. It would be better if it's on a rope and if it's there quicker, so that Jennings can set his feet and not worry about too many things, but he's got to catch that ball. What I'm talking about, though, is the nuances of the Shanahan offense. He's able to call plays. They just got to execute it. I talked about the 2 missed screen passes. You talk about the wide open miss to Deebo Samuel that would have been a touchdown, where Garoppolo looks at him in the eyes for 2 seconds. Deebo Samuel has his hand. He has his hand up. This is like basketball. He's like, yo. entire defense too. I'm wide open. Can you please throw me the ball? He doesn't throw him the ball. Instead, he works back the other way and throws an incomplete pass to Brandon Ayuk on a poorly thrown ball again. But that should have been a touchdown. Then you look at the other defense. It was a very similar play call on the other deep ball to Deebo Samuel up the left sideline. Garoppolo floats that ball, underthrows it a little bit. Deebo Samuel has to wait and then falls back as he catches it rather than catching it in stride for a touchdown. That's the reason that you trade 3 first-round picks to get Trey Lance. And I'm not saying just those 2 plays. I'm saying in general, execution-wise, Trey Lance provides a better option. He's a better option. He provides the better opportunity to execute the plays that Kyle Shanahan wants, those deep crossers because he's got the zip to hit it before safety can get there. Those outside throws because he can hit them in stride because he's got the arm strength and the ability to do so. That's why you trade for Trey Lance. So what is going on with the Kyle Shanahan offense? Overall, you can say that sometimes there is questionable play calling. I thought that there were a couple of questionable plays last night even. There were some 2nd and 9s and 2nd and longs where I wanted Kyle Shanahan to run the ball, given how effective the 2nd and long run has been in the Kyle Shanahan tenure. And then also the interception. I thought the interception was a bad play call. They should have ran the football on that play. But overall, good game by Kyle Shanahan, poor execution by the offense, specifically Jimmy Garoppolo. That was an inexcusable game. That was one of the worst performances I've seen in a minute. And I mean, we haven't seen Jimmy Garoppolo play for a while, but it's one of the worst performances I've seen in a minute.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, a lot of people they correlate, I guess, Andy Reid with Kyle Shanahan because Andy Reid also was known as a very big offensive-minded coach when he was with the Eagles. You know, made it to the NFC Championship game so many times. Never could win the big game. Went to Kansas City. Same thing. You know, the team were decent but couldn't win the big game. And then he finally got his quarterback in Patrick Mahomes, and his offense has been elite ever since. And you know, I think that's what obviously was the most frustrating part with Trey Lance going down this year is because overall, this was the year that the 49ers this was the guy that finally Kyle Shanahan had his quarterback. And we were going to find out if it's Kyle Shanahan, what this offense could really do. And unfortunately, you know, Trey went down. So that's pushed back another year. And we're still here with Jimmy. So I agree with you completely. I do think that Kyle Shanahan is a good head coach. I mean, I know a lot of the faithful are frustrated with him for a multitude of reasons, but at the end of the day, you look at what he's developed on the coaching staff, Saleh and, you know, Mike McDaniel's doing great over there in Miami. We constantly have a very good defensive coordinator and a defense there year after year after year. You look at the talent that's been brought in through the draft and developed here under Kyle Shanahan and his regime. There's a lot of great things to look at, but unfortunately, it's just this offense has been mediocre to put it mildly, and it's led to some really frustrating losses. I just hope that eventually we can get the quarterback to do that. But let's talk about right now
real quick, I just want to say one thing about it. I've put a bunch of blame right now, on Jimmy Garoppolo. I think Kyle Shanahan isn't devoid of blame. Let me just make that clear. I had a conversation with Wayne earlier today, and he and I had a difference on or disagreement on how much blame should really be placed on Shanahan. I don't think much should be, but I think he isn't devoid of it. Like I said, on that interception call, I thought that call was one of the big calls, and you can maybe raise a question based on calls like that there is an issue with Kyle Shanahan in late game situations, how he's not able to control the lead, right? Because it's a 1-point game and you're dominating that drive, right? You're at your own 48-yard line and it's close to the 2-minute warning. You have to just call one play before the 2-minute warning. You could call a run after calling 4 straight pass plays to start the drive, but instead he calls a pass, and that was, in my opinion, a poor play call because instead receivers couldn't get open. Jimmy Garoppolo forces a throw into double coverage, and it's an interception. So to me, you call a run there, you get your offense organized, and then you set up after the 2-minute warning with favorable field position for the last drive.
Yeah, and unfortunately in games like the one last night, it's really easy to start nitpicking here and there. Really, the game shouldn't have ever been as close as it was. There was multitude of opportunities for there to be a victory. The defense kept putting the 49ers offense in good positions or giving them chances to pull it out. But yeah, unfortunately, it turns out to be a loss, and now everything's under the microscope. So at the end of the day, though, the buck does stop with Shanahan, so he's got to figure it out. And luckily, there's still a lot of season left. But I know, as the faithful right now, definitely not excited about the I guess the trajectory of where the team is, and a lot of that has to do with Jimmy G being quarterback, right? So I think the fan base is pretty split here. There's a lot of Jimmy G supporters out there, not only in the fan base but also in the media. You know, I saw Colin Cowherd go off and like to give Jimmy time and all this kind of stuff, and a lot of people point to Jimmy G as the answer because you know the 49er under Shanahan, most of their success has been with Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback. You know, like I said earlier, you know, if you're looking at the team from a outward perspective and you see the success that the 49ers have had, it's all been with Jimmy G there. But if you look a little bit deeper, it's not necessarily maybe because of Jimmy G, but sometimes in spite of Jimmy G, or he's just able to do enough with all of the talent around him. But at the end of the day, Rohan, this is our only option because Shanahan has said Trey's not coming back this season. I don't know if anybody really trusts Brock Purdy as the solution there. So can Jimmy G be an answer for the 49ers this season? Is he capable of playing well enough? And have you seen enough out of him in the, I guess, last 7 quarters you've seen out of him to see that the 49ers can make a deep run with this team and be a contender for a Super Bowl?
No. I mean, I'll rephrase. Is Jimmy G the answer? I think we've seen that over the last 5 seasons. I don't think he's the answer. I think this team is capped from winning a Super Bowl. Now, is a Super Bowl out of the possibility? No. You have an elite level defense that can compete to be the number 1 overall defense in the NFL this year. And you also have elite weapons who continue to grow, right? You talk about Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Kyle Juszczyk, and hopefully Trent Williams comes back by that time when the 49ers are making that push, right? You have a strong core of players. So is the Super Bowl ever out of the question with this group? No. But is Jimmy Garoppolo the answer? No, I don't think so. Because we've seen how his limitations have forced the 49ers out of games. You talk about last year in the NFC Championship game. Why? Because as the course of a season goes along, teams figure out what the 49ers are doing. You have 5 years now of game film on Jimmy Garoppolo as the 49ers quarterback, and teams dare the 49ers to throw. Last night, you automatically saw at least 7 players in the box every single play. Every single play. Why? Because the 49ers are a run-dominant team. They're a team that can obviously win through the run game. So teams are going to say, well, we're going to force you to pass the ball. And what happened yesterday when the 49ers were forced to pass the ball? Their quarterback could not execute plays that were placed in favorable matchups by the head coach. And so that's why the 49ers only scored 10 points and lost this game. That's a big issue right there. And so to me, Jimmy Garoppolo is not the answer to this team. Could the 49ers, like I said, the 49ers could win a Super Bowl. Maybe I bite my words, but we've seen it before. The story is not, it's not like the story is brand new and there's some potential like that. The 49ers have tried to win a Super Bowl before with Jimmy Garoppolo and they failed because at the end of the day, you don't have what it takes necessarily. And there are only a certain amount of quarterbacks that do. That's why you traded 3 first-round picks for Trey Lance. Not because he might not be the better quarterback right now or be the more prepared quarterback right now, but when it comes to playoff time through a year of development, you expect that Trey Lance has the understanding of the offense and that his traits and abilities can push you over the top, meaning his ability to run the football, his ability to throw it deep, and his ability to make certain reads and not miss them. And so a combination of what he could bring was the potential that could have been the answer. But right now, I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo is the answer, which does limit the 49ers ceiling when you're looking at a championship.
I think you said it amazingly right now, Rohan. Yeah, and unfortunately, I'm going to have to cut the show off a little bit quick. Got some things that I got to do for work. But I definitely have a lot more to talk to Rohan about. I want to thank everybody in the chat for tuning into the show. Definitely a lot more to talk about. Me and Rohan will get together a little bit later this week, maybe on his channel, to continue the conversation. But just want to tell everybody, thank you so much for joining in. Like I say, stay safe, stay hydrated, and we'll talk again very, very
we'll see you next
soon.
time, guys.
Have a great night, guys.